The United Nations will continue putting pressure on Russia over the conflict in Ukraine, said the United States ambassador to the UN, Samantha Power, after meeting with Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko in Kyiv. Ukraine's president said that his country is doing its best to uphold the conditions of a ceasefire brokered by Western leaders in Minsk last February, which aims to bring an end to the 14 months of fighting in East Ukraine between government troops and Russian-backed insurgents.
Now our main expectation for the defending the Minsk agreement, for the supporting the peace process, many of these initiatives connected with the Security Council. I speak about that with the Pan Ki-moon during his visit it was 8th of May, and we try to do our best at least to launch some process for the peacekeeping.
As part of her visit to Kyiv, Power visited a memorial on Independence Square in the center of the Ukrainian capital, dedicated to victims of the uprising in February 2014 that toppled disgraced former President Viktor Yanukovych. More than 100 people were gunned down during the clashes between police and protesters. Those who lost their lives are now known as the Heavenly Hundred. Following Yanukovych's ouster, the Russian-backed insurgency in East Ukraine began. More than 1 year later, Power says sanctions on Russia will remain in place if the Kremlin does not take steps to end the conflict.
I underscored the very important message out of the G7 over the last few days that the sanctions will remain in place against Russia unless and until the Minsk agreements are implemented. And of course, there are major challenges with that we need to continue to put pressure on Russia to ensure that a process that has moved too slowly picks up steam.
Power also stressed that putting an end to fighting in East Ukraine remains a priority for the United States.
The world is rooting for Ukraine, and the United States has the backs of the Ukrainian people. And I want to make sure that when I go back to Washington, I talk to President Obama, I have a fresh sense of what we can do, again, to support the efforts here.
Despite the ceasefire, shelling continues in the conflict areas of East Ukraine. Earlier this week, several shells landed on houses on the outskirts of Donetsk, the Russian-backed militant stronghold. The conflict in East Ukraine, which has lasted now for over a year, has claimed the lives of more than 6,400 people.